to pay. If you need to run everything locally, Jordan asked, how do we back up the database? So in order for me to run your assignment, if you do it locally, here's what you do. It's pretty simple. So I'll just go to my local server. All you need to do for a backup, right-click your database name, tasks, and backup. Okay. By default, it will save it into your program files, SQL server, this whole string, and there's a folder called backup. And it will automatically name the file, the name of the database, .bak. So then all you need to do is click OK. That's it. But that means you're going to then need to copy that file. Or the other option is you can change before you run the backup. What you could do is you could remove this path and put in a path to a folder inside the, like make a DB folder in the project and create the backup file in there. So that way, when you upload to Git, it's already inside the project. Okay, so you can just browse here. So if I wanted to do this, I can just go to my project. If I can actually get here. Yeah, it's not actually letting me in to do that. So just make sure you include that BAK file, because then what I will do is download the BAK, and then what I'll have to do is I then have to restore a new database. So if I do restore, it'll then let me browse to that BAK file and add that database to my server. So not ideal, but if we have to, we can do that. Okay. So I've pointed my web application back now to using my local server. So what I want to start doing is we want to start customizing this scaffold. So there's things we're going to want to change in the models, things we're going to want to change in the views, and things we're going to want to change in the controllers. For starters, let's start with this list, right? What order, every time I add a new category, whenever I add a new category, it winds up at the bottom. So if this becomes a long list, it's going to be hard for a user to get at. So it would probably be better that we sort this list alphabetically. So where would we go if we want this list to appear in alphabetical order? All right, so let's go to our controller that we scaffolded. And in our index method, it queries our database class, uses our categories model, and calls toList, and this call is asynchronous. So what we want to do here is add an order by condition. So in here, we're actually going to use a lambda expression. C represents the list of categories. So if we order by the name property, this should sort our list alphabetically by default. So I've just added in an order by into this query. So if we build and refresh, our list should now get sorted A to Z with appliances top of the list, even though it's category 4. We'll just build that and refresh.
Okay, I've confirmed that you can fairly easily create a database on AWS.
Okay, can you also create the web application?
Yes, you can create them at the same time.
For free?
Apparently, yeah, they're both on free tier. I haven't selected any paid options.
All right, okay.
using SQL Server Express. And you can even run it off of .NET's IIS.
Okay, all right, well, maybe have a look at that as an option. So now we're sorted alphabetically A to Z.
You just gotta have to navigate the labyrinthian.
Okay. Now, actually, we may come back to this page. We'll maybe add a couple, we'll come back. Let's scaffold out another controller. Let's scaffold out a product controller with views so that we can also add, edit, and delete products. So I'll go back to Visual Studio. I'll right click my controllers, pick add a controller. We want an MVC controller with views using Entity Framework. It's just an alias. It's just a parameter, so it doesn't matter actually. It's a user defined, we're defining that. C just represents the category class. So I'm going to add a controller with views. This time we'll pick our product model. I'll make sure to reference our script libraries in case we want to use any JavaScript.
What are those references? So what's that checkbox? Did you elaborate on that?
Sure.
Are we using any JavaScript? I haven't seen it. Why is JavaScript?
Actually, you know what? We don't need it because it's actually already in our layout file.
Yeah, if you're using,
Yeah, the JavaScript's actually here already, so it really doesn't matter if we include it.
I thought
Because it's using the layout, it's not necessary.
unless you have, I guess, custom JavaScript that you
Yeah,
built specifically.
which we don't in this case. So I'll pick products. It automatically names it product controller. Use it defaults to our layout file in our low ballers context. And I'll just click add. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect it either way.
So is it possible to create like a .NET Core application, but without Bootstrap in case you want to use a different like content layout engine?
Sure. So when we created the project, we used the MVC template, so it includes Bootstrap. You can create an empty project, and then you get nothing
Okay.
if you want empty. So here's our
Well, I think you wanted to, like, Marketplace has other-
Well, there's also an option if you want a .NET Core app with an Angular or React front end. There's templates for those. You can choose those when you create your
I
project.
know there's like dozens and dozens.
If we go to /products here, let's see what we got. So make sure you build after the scaffolding's done.
There it is. These are the controller.
So we can put in, let's put in a few products. So notice one of the other neat things the scaffolding does. It gives us all the fields, but it also, because our database and our models have a one-to-many relationship, one product is in one category, but one category has many products, it automatically generates a drop-down for that foreign key. Now, we'll want to customize this a little bit. We also have, if I just leave it blank and click Create, the validation's already here. Why is it here? Well, let's look at our products model. When we scaffolded this, one of the flags we had in that scaffold DB context command from last week was a flag at the end. It was minus data annotations. The data annotations are all of these extra properties that we see in light blue. so that it pulls in which fields are required, any validation rules.
Add a required tag there if we wanted to, yeah?
Yeah, we can even customize the message. So if you want to customize, right, we have an optional error message property. So if you want to customize what that says, hey dummy, enter name, you can. We'll add another data annotation in a minute. So our model helps, those annotations help make sure we're getting good data. They also run right, so it says, because we've got a rule here that says price is a decimal, it's not going to allow me to do this. If we didn't use that minus data annotations in our scaffold, it would still build the models, but none of these annotations would be here. So we wouldn't have, for example, any data type validation. So having that minus data annotations flag is very useful. Add that one word, it writes all these validation rules into our code.
I guess, pertinent question, considering how the mobile website works. Because I know SQL has a data type specifically for money. Would it handle that? Like, would Visual Studio handle that? Create a check automatically to make sure you're entering, valid money?
I'm not sure about that. Probably because even if it didn't write it as money, Entity Framework does the mapping. That's the whole point of Entity Framework,
Yeah.
of an object relational mapper. It does the conversion.
I know specifically, pretty much every SQL system has a dedicated, money.
Yeah. So there's two other small problems with this from a kind of a user point of view. Look down at the bottom. The category dropdown is cool. It's already there. I would say there's two small changes we should make here. What things should we change around the category ID?
So we should name it category ID.
Okay.
Category.
Yep.
And that'd probably be fine with me. So I don't know what anything is. Apart from photos, you look weird.
Yeah, let's sort the dropdown because again, this is sorted by the default ID. So we should probably change this scaffolding code. So our label just says category and our dropdown is sorted alphabetically. So this is what I mean. The scaffolding gives us a starting point, but it's not really production ready. We have to make these kinds of adjustments all the time when we scaffold stuff. So let's open up our product create. So first of all, our label, let's change it to say category. And then you'll notice here how the dropdown is populated. We have a select tag for category ID. And where do the items come from? They come from the view bag. So the view bag is setting up a property called category ID. So we're going to have to go into the create method in the controller and add an order by into the code that populates this view bag. So in products controller, if I go here, so here's where it's querying the database. It's getting the list of categories and it passes in this as the value of the dropdown and this as the text of the dropdown. So we want to add an order by right here where my cursor's flashing. We don't want the categories in default order. We want them in alphabetical order. So we're going to add the same order by the lambda expression. Now here they've used view data. View data is, it's basically a dictionary that the view bag uses. So it's almost the same thing as the view bag. You can think of it in the same way. Just a container that view bag uses.
Could we replace that with view bag dot something?
Yeah, we could say view bag dot category ID. Well, we'd have to call it view bag dot category ID. Yes, if you replaced it, it would still work.
Okay. Is there an advantage to doing it this way, or?
I'm actually not sure. In MVC5, it would use view bag. this is new that they've used view data here in the scaffold. So if you wanted to change that to viewbag.category ID, you could. So now if we refresh, we'll just reload it, our labels should get changed and our dropdown should be in the correct order. This dropdown also ensures referential integrity, that you can't add a product and not assign it to a category, because our database requires it. You can't have these orphaned products that are uncategorized. There's one more customization. So now it says category and we're in alphabetical order. So I'll add a product. I don't know. In the view, I changed the label. It's just hard coded as category ID in the view. So we've customized the controller, we've customized a view. What if I do this? I'll leave the photo for now. So I'll put this in my tech category. Is this going to work or not work? Is it going to save? Let's try it. So it created it, but we probably want to add more validation in the product model. As long as the price is a decimal, it's allowed. So what we want to do is set up another rule here. So above our price field, oops, we've set the data type, but I also want to set up another annotation, which is a range. So range asks for a minimum and a maximum. So what should be the lowest price we allow? 0 either 0 or 1 cent, maybe. Either one. We'll say 0. Yeah, we could make a product free. What would be the highest amount we might want to allow?
99999.
Okay, that's probably good. And then we can set up an error message. So if I build, and it doesn't matter what order these are in, if you put the range above the call, above the data type or below, as long as it goes above the property name. So if I try and edit that product now and don't change the price, this validation rule should kick in. It should say you can't save this until you put a price that's in the allowable range. So I'm going to go back to edit it again. I'll maybe try and change the price from -100 to -200. We'll see if it allows me. It should, this data annotation should prevent me from doing this. So far these controllers, these would more be kind of back-end functions for the owner of the store. Manage the categories and manage the product catalog. They're public right now, but we're going to make these private maybe next week. This is the back end of the site, really. Well, this is super zippy. Holy moly. Okay, so now I'll try and change the price. I'll keep it as a negative. So now it's not going to allow that. I put in a positive price. It's going to allow me to save. So I'm going to put in a few more products here. We'll do another, and then we'll do a little more customizing of some of the scaffold. So let's create a few more products. I don't care what you put in. Create a few products, put some products in different categories. So later when we build the shopping cart, user can pick a category, see a filtered list of products in that category. So I'll call this. So I'll put in, you can put in anything you like.
Honestly, with Microsoft Azure went up for sale.
So put in whatever you like. I want to do some customizing on this page as well. First thing I want to do is change this heading. The heading says index because that's the name of the view. Just by default, it's always going to put the view name there. Let's change our heading here. So I'm going to open up our product index. Let's change the heading and the title to say products, which is more meaningful. I've changed line 4 and line 8. So this should change and this should change. I also want to add a little more formatting to my table. So I'm going to add a couple other classes. I'm going to add table striped and table hover. This will give my table alternating background colors. And if I move them, as I move the mouse over, it basically highlights the row that the mouse is on. So those are just classes built into Bootstrap. So I get a better effect here. Table's also easier to read with the alternating background colors. What else do we want to do? Okay, a couple other things we want to do. We should format this price as currency. So we can actually do this in the model, that anywhere the product price is displayed, it's formatted as currency. So if I go back to my product model above our price, we can add a display format. So we're going to format the string this way. So the value and the lowercase c is Microsoft's currency format. This will use the server's local regional settings and format it in the currency. So if the server was in the UK, it would format as British pounds. So I could apply the formatting just in this view, but on any other views that displays a product, it's going to be unformatted. By formatting, adding the formatting in the model, anywhere we're displaying product objects with the price is in currency. Yeah, I'm just going to see if it works. I always like to check whether it works. If this doesn't work, we may have to do it in the view. I'm hoping this version should work. Good Lord, this is slow. Okay, so I get it. So by doing it in the model as well, if I go to details here, it should also be formatted as currency now, right? So by changing the model, it changes any view that displays this data. In edit, it won't, because it's smart enough to know we don't want the $ when the user's editing. Just let them edit the number. They don't have to worry about it. One other thing I'll do here is numbers probably should be aligned to the right, not to the left. So I'm just going to add a little alignment. So inside, if I go down here, inside my TD with the price, inside my loop, if I set the class to text right, that should right align all the prices.
If we want to rearrange the order so that it shows the photo first, we just modify it here. And
yeah, we can just go in. Let's do that. Let's move the category. So maybe we want the product name and then the category and then the other stuff.
Sure.
So up here in my table heading, I'll just move my category column up between the name and the description. I'm going to add a heading in here. We've got one empty heading at the end. Those are above our edit details and delete links. I'll maybe put in actions. That was my last. There's an empty set of TH tags. That appears right here. So there's nothing there. I want to put a heading in that says actions. And then I also need to move my category data. So you notice when we're outputting products, we actually have access to the parent data. We don't have to do a join to go and get the categories. When we query and pass in a list of products, the product automatically has access to the parent data. We're just going to do one and maybe two more things with this, and then we're going to call it a day. So I added a class of text right to the TD that contains the price. We'll do one other quick thing with this page. Typically, when we present users with a grid of data, in order to let them get through it quickly, we want to make the column headings clickable, so a user can click on any heading and it will sort in one direction. And then if they click that heading again, it sorts in the opposite direction. There's a small JavaScript library available for free. I've put it up on D2L. Let's download it and add it to our project, and then we can make these column headings clickable so we can automatically sort. So inside of week 4, there's this script library called sortable.js. So I'm going to grab this one and download it. And then just a little bit of code to enable it. So it opens this page. Oops. Okay, in the middle here, there's some orange code if you scroll down. And in here it says download the library. So I'm going to right click that link and save it into my project. So this is going to go in www.root.js. So save it here. It's called sortable with 2 T's. So just save the file in there. So I'm going to add this to our layout file, so any file in the site can use it.
So could you show again where you put that?
Yep, in www.root.js. So under here, we had site.js, we now have sortable.js here as well.
That's just
So now in my layout file, I want to add it. At the very bottom, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Can you repeat it? Okay, inside the file, so you'll see mostly white. Down here in the middle, you'll see 1, 2, 3, a numbered list with an orange link that says the JavaScript library. That's the link. So right click and save that into www.root/js. So then in my layout, I've added the code on line 82. Our layout is going to include, so every page will have access to this library. So there's 3 steps, we've done 2 of them. Actually, I guess there's 4 steps.
now, this is in, oh, it's in the
In the layout file, because I want to make it available globally. So any of our pages that have a table can use this. So then if I go back to my product index, inside of my table tag, I'm going to add the class of sortable. There's only 1 T here. It's a bit weird. The JavaScript file has 2 T's in the file name, but the class we want to call that will let us do sorting has 1 T. So just add that on top of the 3 Bootstrap classes we've already got. So I'll refresh my products now and try clicking on any column heading. So now if I click description, it sorts A to Z, click it again, Z to A. The only thing that I'm missing is there's no visual indicator. These are clickable. When someone loads this page, when they mouse over a heading, it doesn't give them a little cursor indicating it's a link they can click. So I might want to wrap these in A tags so when the user mouses over one of them, they know they can click it. So all I will do here is just wrap each of these in an empty anchor tag.
Now, when you put that hashtag in the href, is that necessary? To leave that out?
I think if you leave it out, it actually reloads the current page. I believe. You can try leaving it out and see. I'm also going to right align my price heading because it's sort of floated far away from the price values below. So when I mouse over these now, yeah, they're blue. They look like links. So it's a little more apparent that they're clickable. Photo, I didn't, and actions, well, those things aren't don't involve sorting, so I didn't bother. So if I want to see cheapest to most expensive,
Although if I click actions, it does sort.
it,
So would you want to try to disable that on there?
no, I'm not going to worry about it. You can. So this library is really useful. It goes into any kind of project built into any sort of language. Very useful to have. And now any of our tables have it. So if I go back to the categories page, it actually works. Oh no, we just have to add the class. If we add the class of sortable to this table, we can sort the categories as well. So our scaffold is not a finished product, it's a starting point. It's boilerplate, it saves us the work of creating this stuff, but then we have to go in and customize it. And I'm not going to do it right now, but so for example, we fixed up the category section on our create view. It says category and it's sorted. But if we edit, we would have to make the same change because it's a separate view. So again, we'd probably in the edit method want to sort this list and replace the label that says category ID. We'd want to replace with the word category. So part of what I want you to do in your assignment is scaffold this out, but then make some of these changes so that your application looks better, functions better, is easier for people, right? Sort things in an appropriate order, put in labels that make sense, add validation rules where you should have them, like we did on price, add formatting to things if it needs it, like we did with formatting the price. So take what the scaffold gives you and polish it up a little bit. Okay. I think we'll end a little bit early today. There is one other thing I wanted to do with this, but we can do it next week. We haven't dealt with the photo. It's going to take a little while. So hang on just a second. So we want to change on both create. On create, we want this to be a browse button where the user can actually pick a photo and upload it. And it will save to the file system, and the file path will get saved to the database. And on edit, we want to check if there's a current photo, we want to display it. We want to let the user replace it. And here we want to show if there is a photo, we want to show a thumbnail, and that thumbnail is a link to the full-sized image. So we're not going to be able to do all of that in the time we've got left. Okay, and you guys have been in class for 7 hours today.
I assume there are annotations we can add to restrict the file type for photos? Or...
That will actually be in the upload. We'll have to write custom code on the create and edit post methods to do the file processing. So in there, we can inspect the MIME type and decide if the file is valid or not. So we'll maybe start with that next week. We'll also start to build. So we've been kind of building the back end of this, but there's no real front end for somebody to shop. So we want them to be able to present them a list of categories, let them pick a category, and we probably don't want to present it in a table. We want to present it in something more attractive. Tables are good for managing it in the back end. We can probably present it in a more attractive way to the end user. Pick a product, pick a category, see the list of products, be able to add any product to their cart. So we can start on that piece next week, but we'll do the file upload piece at the beginning. Okay, so I'm just going to upload this, and yes, Josh, you had a question. Yep. So in the layout, I link to it. You can probably see why this is such a useful thing in terms of time and efficiency, how we can create a site and get something up and running really fast. Create the database, create the project, connect them together, scaffold everything. We have a working application, so users can start entering data. And as they're doing that, we can start customizing it and adding other things to it. Okay, so all of today's code is on GitHub. If you need help with your assignment, then you can book an appointment